hello, and good night. We are in the SheShed. We spent so much time in the man cave. It feels so refreshing to be with the ladies, and we've had a really great time so far in the SheShed talking to these amazing women, and they observe the rule, which is that I can ask any question and I can answer all of it. And I know you guys have been really, really blessed. So take some time to like and share. Share this to your friend. This is good for the married women, the single women. We have some really amazing guests, and we want you to get this. We have this starting late at night so that you can have a chance to put the kids to bed, take care of the husband, and get your nice glass of whatever. Maybe a whole lot of communion in your glass on today, and so you can sit there and just enjoy this. If anything resonates with you, just put in your comment. Don't just listen. We want you to be interactive with something you agree with. Just give us a thumbs up, and something you disagree with, give us some love. Give us a heart. All right, this is going to be an amazing, amazing time tonight. We want to remind you, ladies, about the support group that we have that is starting later on in October. And this is a time for those of you who are single meaning not married, to get some tools so that your next relationship, your next first date will be your last date. So the great place to come in, get some tools, get some information so that you will be better in your next relationship. And even if you're in a relationship right now and you want to make sure that it's better, you want to enrich it, you want to be part of that. You also want to be part of our life coaching certification class, as well as our relationship counseling, giving you the tools. If you're coaching right now and it's difficult to get people to pay for the service, that's one of the things that we focus on. We want to sell the value and people make money from us. All right, so let me introduce you to these women, and remember, we want you to like and share and comment. Don't just stay there and look at us, but also comment. Let me introduce you. Introduce you to these ladies, and first we have Sonia. Sonia, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing so well this evening. Thank you so much for having me on.
Good. So tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you do? Are you married? Have kids? In love? All of that stuff.
So my name is Sonia LeRae. I'm a lifestyle relationship counselor, educator, fashion psychologist, and motivational speaker. I have a fabulous podcast, as you can see behind my head, Whispers in a Bottle, Grown Talk Cocktail Fridays, which is every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I am married, and I have a beautiful little 9-year-old girl who just brings me joy.
Awesome. How long have you been married?
I will be married 14 years this coming October.
Great. So you're going to give us some really good tips. We're going to be all in your business, trying to learn some things, trying to scoop out some things, get the tea, as we say. So we'll be right back with you, Sonia. So glad to have you here today. Let's see who else we have in the shed. So we have another life coach here, Yvonne. Yvonne, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, Dr. Holmes. Thank you so much for having me on your show. First and foremost, you look marvelous.
Thank you. So do you.
I'm trying to clean up for you, girl.
You did a great job.
Thank you so much. So I am Yvonne Victor. I am a life and business coach, certified life and business coach. I coach men and women who are looking to create and to live their best life. And that's it in a skinny.
Okay.
Yeah. And I am a mother of 2 adult children who I just adore with all my heart and soul. They came out to be very good people. I've been married to this wonderful guy for the last 6 years. And I am a brand new author of a book called Unstuck, the first 5 steps for living your best life. And so we just had a soft launch last week. And so I'm excited. I'm still hyped up about that. That went well. So
that is good. Congratulations. You know, you're in the vein. So we have 2 married women on today, which is really good. So the questions are going to be really, really good. These ladies will be able to tell us about the peak experiences, and we're not going to forget the valleys. So
yes.
Yvonne will be right back with you. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
All right, so we also have Zane, Beyond Words. Zane, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I mentor young women transitioning into womanhood. And that could range from anywhere from 16 to 50, because some women don't transition at the time that they believe that you're supposed to transition, which is at adolescence. And so I have a rites of passage experience. I also have a group 2 groups actually, which is SIS, which is Sisters Invested in Success, and I Breathe. And I also am a poet, author. I write about social, economic issues. I blog. I'm published with, my beloved Sonia Sanchez. So I'm happy about that. I do volunteer work and I address food insecurity. So I'm all over the place in the community, but my main issue is working with families, young women, trying to culture them and really keep their families together. So that's really one of my, passions, along with Be Her Best Half, which is working with father-daughter dyads.
Nice. All of that. That's a lot of stuff, girl. Are you married, single?
I would kind of choose not to discuss that, but what I can say is that I'm in a transitioning relationship.
Okay, we're gonna try our best in this room. We're gonna try our best not to get there and ask too many questions. But in this scenario, it's like, the idea of this this show is to really help women. And one of the things that we have a lot of things happening, a lot of relationship coach. We have a lot of relationship gurus and specialists. You have them on Instagram and on Facebook, and now I'm seeing every day, or you can wake up 2:00 in the morning and somebody's on Clubhouse talking about relationship. What a lot of people want is not the textbook. They want to hear some of the experiences, and I think Zane, you would understand that as well, as you're taking women through that transition. We have a lot of people who would mask, and whether they're on the pulpit, or on the podium, people are talking about things from the book, from a really perfect place. And what we're finding is people resonate more when you're able to say, put an I in there. And it's not for everyone, because being naked in a community that does that gossips and talks and bullies and tries to shame you is very, very difficult. But owning, so one of the things that I know, the Bible says that the devil is the accuser of the brethren, but he can only accuse me of the things I hide. If I stand up and say I was a prostitute, which I was not, for those of you listening, if I say that, then when somebody comes in and says, so who do you think you are? You were a prostitute. I'm like, yeah, I said that already. It's trying to get from deliverance and holding on to secrecy. All right, so that's some of the...
It's a full transparency. And that is the key of how success happens, is by transparency.
But would we agree, especially in the female community, that sharing with a woman leaves you more vulnerable than you would if you were sharing with a man? Because there seems to be some level of competition. There's a thing. I don't know what it is. Maybe you guys can put a name to it. But it's a thing that happens with women. If I'm traveling and I meet a female, what's that thing, agent, it's the interaction is so much different than if I meet a male. You meet a female policewoman and then you meet a male. There's something about that we seem to just need and the extra part of it. So being vulnerable with women, I understand why people would have caution because we're not really good protectors of each other. Oh, any thoughts on that? Go ahead.
I don't know. I would have to say I'm coming from probably a different angle totally because I've had the great pleasure of having dynamic women pour into me. And so for me, I don't run into where there are women that are kind of backstabbing or that nitpicky kind of attitude. And I think when you are vibrating at a different decimal than some, you cannot be at the same level with everyone. And those that seem to be kind of petty or those ones that want to stir up contention, they are vibrating at a lower decimal, so they can't connect to you. So for me, I don't run into that. So I meet women like all of you that are walking in your greatness, that are dynamic energy. So how can I hate that? I love it. I
That,
celebrate it.
yes, and that's it because I'm listening to you guys, and I'm not here. I'm hearing you. So I'm a psychologist and family therapist and sex therapist. That's
So
my
I,
yeah, that's my job. That's my career path. But I'm listening, and there's so many times when a woman introduces herself, she downplays who she is, and I think that's probably some of the things that Zane works with her people, and you can tell it's like they want you. So I do have 2 doctoral degrees working on the third. That's not something I'm making up. That's not something that I'm saying because I want to be bodacious or anything like that. It's the truth. But sometimes the community does not would receive that in a negative way. So what I do because I want to fit in, I don't say it. What I heard from you ladies today is everybody says, this is who I am. I am a poet. I am, all the stuff that you're saying. And I think not all the women get there. Zane, what are your thoughts? Not all the women are at this place that some of us are.
No, they're not. And I think I get extreme ends of the spectrum with what I do because I get women who are working on, say, their high school diploma, they're transitioning from one space in their life, a phase in their life to the other. And then the women that I work with, my colleagues, are women like you. They're dynamic, and honestly, we're vulnerable to each other. We get it. Some of them will share certain things that's going on in their lives with me, and they're comfortable discussing that with me. And I think it's just it ties to your humility. That's one thing. I think that some of us, no matter what level we're at in our career or our lives, we seem to abandon that thing called humility, and we tend not to gravitate back towards some of the people and pour back into them, the people that we left behind. I know we can't take everyone with us, right? But I do think that for me, I get to see both ends of the spectrum, and it's very hard for me to abandon those who are reaching to try and elevate themselves because they are shy. They're just shy. I could give you a brief example. I was going through the corridors of where I work, and they were dropping those B words at each other, as a term of endearment. And then I came through the hallway, and they said, "Shh, there's a lady. You see that lady walking through?" So I turned around and said, if I'm a lady and this language and these terms of negative endearment are not good enough for me, why are they good enough for you? And so I tried to get them to understand that it's the standard you set for yourselves, and that I don't have to see you as that just because you spewed it, but I have to correct you and say, you don't have to be this thing and separate me from you. So I constantly tell them, you're my reflection. I constantly tell them I see myself in you. And I think some of us, when we get here, we abandon, those people who are still in the trenches trying to navigate and find themselves. So it's a lot of times my job is to help you see your possibilities and share my vote. They feast off of me all the time, my academics, whatever challenges I face, and I serve myself to them to pick feast and do whatever they need to do to get there. And I think it's just building that connection when we allow ourselves to be vulnerable enough to let them feast off of us.
Mm-hmm. Yvonne, your thoughts before I go into the shed? What are your thoughts on women? Oh, so unmute so that we.
So, pardon me. I can resonate with every last one of you and what you said, but I don't want to abandon what you said initially, Dr. Holmes, about the interaction between women. You know, and I think very much how Sonia addressed it with the vibrational pattern. You know, that was a huge issue in my life growing up. You know, there were several things about me, you know, that I don't know. It just seemed like other women, you know, seem to compete or to tear down. And so I don't ever want to say that we don't do that, because there is a portion of us, we do that. Let's admit that. But I think that as we grow, as we evolve, as I grew, as I evolved, then the caliber of women that I was attracted to and were attracted to me were different. Now they're women like you, like yourself. They're very ambitious. They're very confident. You know, but when I lacked ambition, when I lacked confidence, when I was petty, then that's what I got, right?
I think that's what Sonia is saying as well.
Exactly.
So it's really,
it's about doing the work in you, because I mean, you can't change everybody. It's about doing the work in you. As you do the work in you, as you evolve as a woman, you know, then your surroundings evolve with you. And so that's that. But do we have that sort of competition with one another? I think we do. And I think I do a lot of I'm not a psychiatrist, but I study psychiatry all the time. That was my one of my majors in college, and I'm still interested in it. But talking about lately, I've been really looking at the research into the primitive mom and how the subconscious of, you know, that we have is very primitive coding. And so I try to really pay attention to that and how people interact with one another. And so if you think of us from a prehistoric time, a prehistoric people, you know, that are competing for very limited resources. We're competing for mates, healthy mates who can help us to have healthy babies or protect us or to provide for us or different things. Then there's this innate, I believe, type of competition that may be back here that you're completely unaware that's going on. We do a lot of things that we're completely unaware that we're doing because it's some of our primitive coding, as I have studied. And so I think as you become more conscious of those things, then you can change them. Then you can hack it. You can hack the system, and you can do differently.
And that's one of the things that we talked a lot about hardwiring, but now the research doesn't support hardwiring and saying that a lot of things are more flexible. Into your life and your business the way that I do, and we try to do it classy and
yes, that's fine.
All of that. So, we talk a lot about relationship, and you guys may agree or disagree, and I love the idea of having people here who don't agree sometimes, which is good for the conversation. So if you don't agree, just know that it's okay. That's why we have you here, because you have independent minds. So there's a problem that is happening now with relationships. In fact, if we are to look at I know the pandemic is taking a lot of our attention, but outside of the pandemic, the second big issue that we're having may be relationships. relationship, the way that we relate to each other, because it's the one thing, like many of us have gone to school. If you're an accountant or whatever, there is a place, even if you have not gone to school, that you can go and sit in a class and do a workshop and figure out what's happening now. That is not the same for a relationship. People get into relationship, you're a man, I'm a woman, or whatever else, is out there. And we have the oxytocin and serotonin, we have the chemistry. And the chemistry brings us together. But the chemistry does what it's supposed to do. It dies after a while. And it leaves you feeling, hold on. Does he love me? Why am I feeling so disconnected? I don't know if this is the same feeling. And because of that, the divorce rate is very, very high. And the big part of being divorced is irreconcilable differences, where people say, you know what, I'm not even going to try to figure it out. We just not getting along. What do you think is the problem for the educated, sophisticated, healthy, independent woman? Why can't she keep her man?
You know what? That's a good question, isn't it? It's a big question. That was like a bomb that went off in here with us. You know what? I'm going to say a lot of times what happens, and this is speaking from a standpoint as a psychologist and things that you see. A lot of it when they come to you and you're dealing with them on this subject is communication. It's a lack of communication and effective communication, because a way that a woman communicates with a man is much different from how a man communicates with a woman. And so a lot of times when it comes to communication, it's a matter of a barrier, because a lot of things for women are driven by emotion. And that's not how a man operates, not how his thinking and his ability is. They're fixers, they're protectors, they're guiders. So in turn, a big part of it is that communication level. I always start by saying that the best thing you can do is learn your partner's communication tactics, their skills. I know for myself and my husband, we are great at communicating with each other, because I've learned how he presents things and how he doesn't present things. If there's things that bother him, certain times he may say, you know what, this is like, wow, I got to tell you something. And then other times it may be just kind of sitting there. But because I know him and know how he is, I'll say, hey, is everything okay? But I tap in a way that is approachable for his communication level, that he can hear what I'm saying and it's not driven from emotion. And so that's just my take on some of the disconnect when it comes to that.
Anyone else? Zane, Yvonne?
Oh, she can go. Go ahead.
Zane, oh, okay. I agree. I agree that it's communication. You talked about why can't she keep a man? My question is, does she want to?
Well, that's a good thing. That's a really, because now when I go into the man cave, what's happening now is a lot of women, when they get to that, the clock is ticking, they want a child.
Yeah.
And the man is a conduit. The man is the one who gives the child. And there is no working on that relationship. They want the wedding, not the marriage.
There you
right?
go.
The bridesmaid and everything else, but they'll spend thousands and thousands of dollars in the wedding. And then we tell them about premarital counseling that, let's say it's $500, $600. It's like, we can't afford that.
Right. And the question is, can you afford divorce?
Yes.
Do the math on that.
Do the math. Mm-hmm.
And did you enter with a prenup, first of all? That's the other thing.
Girl,
I'm telling brothers, and because a lot of time, like from a lot of us, it may not be when you started financially.
Right.
This may not be when you started. So the person who if you're young and whatever else, you're coming in, you have nothing. But at this point, if the man has something, just protect it. Because sisters are not sisters and brothers, but because we're talking about sisters. Go ahead, Yvonne.
So I'll say this. I try to help people to redefine what marriage is. And I always tell people, I'm like, marriage is a negotiation between two people. It looks different every couple. You know, hey, do you? If you guys are like, look, in this marriage, we're going to put on clown noses every Thursday night, wear your clown nose. If that makes your relationship great, do it. But I think that a lot of people don't have any negotiation on front end. I don't think that we're coming in, either party's coming in honestly, and this is from my own background, this is from hearing these stories over and over and over. People come into marriage really without the knowledge of what marriage really is about. They come in for some very selfish reasons. It's about what I want, what I need, you know, what hole I need filled, but not coming into marriage as I did on this time, with like full overflowing with so much of everything that I just wanted to share that with someone else. I wanted to be in service that way, you know.
And that's an interesting word, that you use, service, because that sounds very old timeish. You know, it's one of those things that people just hold on. What, sir? Right. Zane, what's your take? Why can't we got all this stuff, you know, smartly, intelligent, with all of that, but the man just.
You asked a very packed question, and there are two things that I think contribute to the breakup of marriages and other relationships, and I do believe communication is extremely key to those relationships sustaining themselves. And I think part of that is that I'm going to go in there and say women have selective hearing. A lot of times they hear what they want to hear. The man has clearly told you, I do not want a baby right now. I do not want to get married right now. Right. But somehow you're going to say, okay, but he may want to get married to me though. I'm the exception. So you're going to keep pushing and pushing, manipulating situations and whatever it is, because you heard what you wanted to hear. And you did not really take in consideration that he was really trying to be honest and upfront with you. So I think sometimes the selective hearing hurts. And the other thing is defining what love is. You need his definition and your definition to see if that's in sync. In some cases, I personally believe that love redefines itself with each relationship. I cannot possibly see that each relationship has the same definition of love. And I think when you go and dragging this relationship in, dragging this definition into a new relationship, it's not meshing, and you're wondering why. And that's because you're taking an old toolbox to a new construction site when you need to, you know, come up with some new tools because the architectural design of the relationship has varied. And so when you come in there with selective hearing, and then you come in with offset definition of love, it really doesn't create that chemistry that you want, or it doesn't construct the relationship you want. It's going to have a really shoddy foundation, and it's not going to last because you're hearing what you're wanting to hear, and that's going to cause somebody to get frustrated because
that is so good. That's so good, because I normally say it's not your intention. A good communicator is not your intention; it's the interpretation. I've had to, as a lecturer, there are times I have to break things down, because my intention is so that you would learn 5 + 5 is 10, but you're interpreting that as 55. So I now have to adjust. I have to adjust so that we both leave. And one of the things that you said, Zane, speaks to my dissertation this time around, is talking about advocating for people entering into a relationship without love. I know that sounds crazy. I'm making a point that we enter and exit marriage based on a feeling, and the feeling is not strong enough. Now, love, if all four of us sit down and we write, as you said, we define love, it's going to be different.
Yes.
Love is needed inside of the marriage. Once you get into that, especially if you're spiritual and you understand love is patient, love is kind, all those things you don't need at the beginning, because you just like so in Gaga Google land, everything is just so nice and sweet. So there has to be, and I want to get your thoughts on this. If you guys are married already, but I'm really looking at the possibility. Like there's one of our guests from the man cave who we're gonna have a committee of people to find him a wife because his way of doing it has failed. And we have to say the way people are entering into relationship is not working.
Mm-mm.
So relationships now, what am I looking for in my husband? It's not, is it that I want someone to have sex with? Obviously, great, we want sex, but it's there 24 hours in a day. Am I going to have sex for 24 hours? On a good day, let's put 2 hours aside for that. What do we do with the next 22 hours? So we're looking for, we have to be able to help our clients, those people who are, and ourselves, to look at more. Are we compatible? Our views on finance the same. Our views on family the same. You know, where do you see yourself? What those kinds of questions. If we get into relationship and we start talking, I know this sounds bad, as if it's a business where okay, what this is what I have, this is what you have, but we are so focused on love and how we feel, not understanding that feelings come from thoughts. I feel this way because I think this way about you. And when I stop thinking that way, my feelings will change, right?
Yeah.
So it's now, can we now look at relationships and say, love is great, but since your idea of love and my idea of love is two different things, can we find a place that we can agree that this is what we want in our relationship? What do you guys think about, here we go again, about arranged marriages?
I love them.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I'm a strong believer in them. I've gotten to that point. For me, culturally, I think it's when I'm looking at my 16-year-old son and the options that are there for him. You know, I've been saying that for a long time that I do believe in arranged marriages. I'm okay with it as long as um, the two people that are involved in the marriage, that they actually have gravitated towards each other and they have the same buy-in. I don't believe in forcing a
Right.
situation, but I do
Because
believe in
what I'm
nurturing and
thinking about
cultivating.
having a short list,
Yes.
right? So a
Yes.
short list of 2, 3, 4 people, and you can choose from that because someone else would have done the work in terms of the background, all that other stuff, and now it's presented that they. So it's not forced, but
No.
it's not. Oh my gosh, I love you, and let's stay on the phone for. Marriages are not passing 3 years. That
Well,
0 to 5 it's not it's if someone gets to that, you just like they have had some kind of help or their tolerance level is great, but that 0 to 5 is a tough time.
well, I'm going to say this.
Hmm.
Per se, I don't know if I am such a gung ho on that arranged marriage thing, because a lot of times what happens is it's different if it's like the parents and those that are very close connected that
Hmm.
know the
Yes.
person. That's
Mhm.
something
Yes.
different because culturally there are things that have happened and different elements that are great. But the thing is this too, it comes to a point of like knowing your non-superficial needs that you need of a mate. Not
Right.
these the superficial ones, oh, he has to be 6'2".
Right.
Yeah, whatever. That's like going to die out because that's not going to keep your relationship alive 3 years from now or even 7 months from now. Because don't forget, most marriages in their first year, they run into obstacles in their
Hmm.
first year of marriage. So, in turn, if you know your non negotiable, non superficial needs that are non negotiable, they're deal breakers if you do you cross that, there's a whole different element. So when you say, oh, yeah, let's do it, well, you can hire matchmakers, but are you really going to disclose
What you
your
really
real quality and what you are about and what you really need from a person? So if you know that children are your deal breaker and you are not going to change that, is that really what you're going to lead with? And you're going to try to clean it up as well as you can, but that may not be the case. So I'm not so taken with that idea of matchmaking because it also eliminates the process of you needing to clean yourself up and refine yourself as well.
Right. So we're not doing
No.
matchmaking. You're doing, like you said, so the family and everybody is
proper
coming.
vetting, proper vetting.
And the whole assessment, you know, all of those kinds of stuff that you get in there, the family, because they're cultural
it's
things.
still matchmaking. Even if it's cultural, it's still matchmaking because they are making the decision.
But then that would be the same thing if the family does it. What we're saying is that it's not a decision that is made only by the man and the couple, not just the couple. So the couple have some, like Zane is saying, if she has that conversation with her son, and you know, thankfully I have this relationship with my son, so that I get the girls after he is in a comfortable place. But we really sit down and talk about the you know, all the other stuff. You know, you don't like to pick stuff up. Is she a neat freak? Because you're not. You know, some of the things that you know would become problematic in a relationship. So having that a healthy triangle kind of thing, not just not a friend. Go ahead, Yvonne.
I wanted to speak to this really quick because this is actually a project that we've been putting together to come out in February, and it is a coaching program called Vetted. For this exact reason, because Zane, I also have a son. He's 34. He's the most magnificent man. Hey, you know, and he's looking like he's you know, I've raised my children both with the philosophy is that I'm raising someone's, hopefully one day, wife and someone's husband. And I wish someone had perhaps taken that same, you know, perspective on some of my former, you know, lovers. And but that, you know, and so now that's who they are. My daughter's in a very healthy long-term relationship, and she's a young girl, and they're like an old couple, but they get it, right? They're partners in this journey. They're partners. They're very supportive of one another. My son has, you know, done all the things and done his personal work and accomplishments to prepare as he wanted to prepare for his wife. And now he's like, I'm ready to look for a wife, right? But I'm hearing from him, and I'm hearing from a lot of his male friends that it's really difficult. They're having a real difficult time. You know, they're not the Idris Elba. I mean, he's a good looking guy. Looks just like his mom. You know, he wants a wife. He wants children. He wants to have a normal, you know, life. He doesn't want to be a thug. He doesn't want to be a gangster. He's a college educated man, you know, with his own home and bank account. And so the thought, same for you, Zane, was like, you know, there's a lot of work on my behalf and sacrifices and things, you know, that have happened to help him to be who he is now. I don't want him to play this game of, you know, is she okay? Nope. You know, divorce number one. And so it made me reflect back on how many of our parents met. So it is not so much matchmaking, but it was people who knew what you were looking for, knew you were already vetted by the community. I mean, people met at church socials. They met from their parents making introductions. They met from their friends making introductions. What happens after that is, you know, kind of really up to you. It's in your hands, whether you're, you know, this person is, you're attracted to them first and foremost, because that's just part of how we're wired, you know, but are they what you're looking for? So another part of that in this program is that we actually go through the work. We actually go through the work. We do the list, as I say, right? And most people's list is very superficial. So you're on the front end, you know, he's got to be 6'2", chocolate
6'2", yes.
Blah, you know, you ain't mentioned
listen, that was the thing for me. I am 5'8", and I did not want to hug anybody who, you know, was like, no. So there was a little bit of superficial. I'm confessing, Sonia. I'm just confessing.
No.
Look, I'm 5'7.5", so I get it. My husband's 6'1.5", so.
A man you can look up to.
And I'm 5'9", and my husband now is 5'10", and he's white, and he was middle aged, and he was balding, and he had been married twice before. None of the things. Let me tell you, the best man I have ever met.
Wow.
On this planet, we are a perfect team together.
Awesome.
We adore being together. But that was because he did a lot of work before I came along, and because I did a lot of work before. So as I started to evolve and grow and really dig into, how, what amount of groceries can I buy at the grocery store because my husband's 6'6"? 0? That's the superficial things, like really looking at the list. Is it really necessary? Do I really care about this? Is this really necessary? What is necessary? And so the list changed as I changed. And then the list that I finally had was the man that I attracted. Once again, doing the work internally, when you change, people around you change, your situations change, and also who you attract change. So the type of man that I used to attract, y'all, serious, they don't even look my way. They don't even look my way. Much more, they adore my husband. They adore my husband.
That's good.
They're
That's
like,
nice.
They're like Facebooking him, saying comments and, making comments openly, I'm so happy you're happy. He's so perfect for you. So when your ex can see that your new person is perfect for you,
it's good. That's good.
That's the thing. But it's a lot of stuff. Like, how many people, do you know who are actually doing some real work, to really look inside themselves before they hop into a relationship? How many people do you know that are really willing to, like, I was celibate for a whole year. I cut it off from my new husband to the guy I was dating before. I was like, okay, it's me. I keep dating the same person over and over. I'm the lowest common denominator. Let me put the brakes on and see what the deal is, And then, I had relationship coach. I, went to workshops. I read books. I mean, I did everything because having a good, healthy relationship was very important for me. That was something I really, really wanted in my life. I didn't get married till I was 50. I had bought homes. I had bought cars. I had my own money. I didn't need anything, but I wanted the companionship for the rest of my life.
I
Go ahead.
To jump in on and kind of build on what Yvonne was saying. And one of the things that lured me more to the arranged marriage situations and getting the community more involved in the building of these relationships and these foundational family structures was that I believe we should get back to some of our more traditional values, which is involving a council of elders. That's one of the things that I put together and support. I have a wonderful friend who has, kind of counseled many of these council of elders and kind of helped them get it along. She's a published author and a college professor, and she helps the community establish these council of elders. And the thing is, with our children, like our sons, we have to get them to understand our cultural values and trust us. Trust us, trust the community that you surround them with, because they need to know that there's a shared vested interest and a respected vested interest enough to trust the community engagement in terms of their marriage. The second thing I think also is just understanding your why. Understanding your why. Why are you in a relationship? Why do you want one? Why do you feel you need one? And getting and understanding, do we have the same purpose in mind when we decide we want to come together or, put a relationship together? The why do you want one? Why do you need one? And I think when those whys come up, it really can reveal a great deal, make you rethink trying to, have this gigantic wedding and the carriage and all of these other things. Why? And if that why is not, well, first of all, I think spiritually yoked and or culturally yoked, then we're in like a crossroad from the beginning. And so I do believe that there are two things: really getting the community involved to wrap around the couple, to embrace and advise and guide and keep them in prayer, instead of all of the superficial things like Sonia was saying, these things that don't really matter. And I think if you get down to the core and the foundation of it, then they have a better start, because these things are discussed, as you all mentioned, in that early line of communication, and then it can advance from there. So I think the why and the community engagement to hold, because people will show up to a wedding, right? I'm praying for your child and everything, but then after they give the gift, they had a good
That's
meal.
it.
That's it. Yeah. Not even the brides, because I advocate for at least the best man and the maid of honor to keep tabs with you. How are you guys doing? Is everything all right? That bridal party has to be more, and I think if we think about it, we would choose differently, because they should be the people that we can go to and trust and say, you know what, I had a fight, and I can talk to you in confidence, not you just there because you look good in the clothes. But I think there has to be more work for them during, especially that first year of marriage, where you tap in and just kind of say, okay, hey, what's going on? And the relationship should be strong enough so that you feel that you can have that kind of conversation without it being something that you can be transparent. I have one last question, because I know we have to wind up time. And I don't know if we can get into it, but I like the way you guys are thinking, so I want to just kind of put it out there. When do men get bad? You have women. When do men get bad? Because I listen. I'm hearing. I don't know, Sonia, if you have a son as well, but I'm listening to Zane and Yvonne, and they seem to have good sons. But somewhere along the line, we encounter these men, and these men seem to be so bad. At what stage? Because it seems, let's give the mothers credit, that the mothers do their job, they do their due diligence, and they present a man who's fit to be a husband, to be a father, to be all that good thing. Are men spoiled, changed by the women they meet? Or is it the blame of the mother that he is not a good dad?
Mm.
So, all right, I'm going to say this because I personally feel a lot of times moms pour a lot of value into their children, period. Be them good, bad, or indifferent. They do pour value into their kids. And some parents don't know the exact value to place in them because they don't have the structure themselves. But when it comes to a man that all of a sudden is like all of a sudden turns bad, you see his family is dynamic, and you're thinking to yourself, well, how does 1 + 1 = 24 with you? It's a matter of a mindset, the connection of who he is interacting with, who he has leveled himself up with as his key element of players in his life.
It's good.
So in turn, what happens is that breakdown, which all of a sudden the foundation that he had was sturdy because the parents placed it there, they put the value in there, they tried to lay out a good example. It erodes because of the way that he has moved and he has combined those teaching with the teachings of others that are not at that same.
Mhm.
And so I think a lot of that plays a huge part. I look at for myself and my husband. My husband came from a totally different background from me. I come from a strong Latin family. The community, how my mom and my dad raised the boys, like you're gonna be a man.
Right.
You have to be a man. You got to take care of your wife. You got to take care of your kids. I don't care if you hungry, they better eat.
That's right.
That's what it is. So in turn, when my brother had his son, he was the same way. Look, you're a man. You got to work. You got to take care of your family. You got to do what's necessary. Now, my nephew, no joke, great foundation, mother, father, dynamic. This man, Lord have mercy, you would not even imagine the things he put his poor ex-wife through and their poor child. And it came from his unfortunate resource of his friends and his ones that he leveled up with that eroded what he had.
Okay,
And it
that's
was like,
good.
wow.
So it's not the blaming of the parents and that. Anyone else want to contribute to that before we kind of wind things up?
Yeah, sometimes. Well, I 100% agree with what Sonia said, and then sometimes it is the parents. Sometimes it is the parents. I've dated them too. Where you can just look back and have a couple conversations with mom and dad, and you're like, yeah, I get it now. But isn't that the same with women?
It is, but you hear a lot, because one of the things that's happening when I have a great opportunity to have men who are open and talk. My first book, which is called His Heart, Her Voice, I got an opportunity to interview over 900 men. Every September, for the entire month of September, I go into the man cave. I'm the only female, and they talk. They talk really, really freely. And a lot of them talk about that first experience. They come into that first experience with everything that the parent taught them.
Mm-hmm.
And they encounter, so this man comes and he's serving. For example, one man said that he bought his girl, I think they were engaged, flowers.
I get the perspective.
And now she's just like, I mean, what do I do with this?
Right.
Why don't we continue, pay a bill or whatever else? Right. Guess what? The next woman didn't get flowers.
Right.
But she liked it. She wanted it. Right. So he now seemed to be adjusting. And the older you get that man, if you get that man in his 50s, late 40s, 60s, or whatever, he has encountered a whole lot of women, and he has adjusted in a lot of ways. Right. So this is one of the reasons why premarital counseling and all of that goes, because now we can come and say, what do you like? What's your language? Like Sonia would say, what is your language? And speak that language. But it seems like the men are adjusting to the woman that they encounter.
Well, let me tell you guys something funny. You said that about flowers, and I gotta make you laugh. I am not a flower girl, okay? Not at all. I'm like, oh, okay, thank you. I'm one of those girls. But my husband knows I am a shoe-aholic. I got more shoes than Carter's got liver pills. I'm telling you. And so the first time he bought me flowers, I was like, oh, this is nice. Thanks. And he started laughing. He said, you're not a flower person, are you? He said, I never see flowers in your house. And I was like, well, I have artificial flowers. I said, but they don't require much. And so he laughed. He said, well, what's your thing? And I said, unfortunately, shoes. And literally 2 weeks later, he bought me a beautiful pair of stilettos. And I was like, oh my goodness, because somebody who got me, that understood that. And it wasn't that I wanted to change him or anything. Even now, if he brings me flowers, I think it's sweet, but it's like, okay, thanks. But I'm not a flower girl.
And I think that's really good, because the way that you're explaining it, it's not saying, oh my gosh, I'm making it feel bad. He is now reading the level of excitement. So you're excited when you get the flower, but you're super excited when you get the shoes.
Exactly.
Right. So now he wants that, and he needs that. He needs that, that affirmation. Yeah. I love flowers, but I don't like red roses. I want any other color. And my husband, other people would argue red means love. For me, it doesn't. What if you give me pink or orange? Anything else is really big for me. So if you give me the red, I'm going to be like, oh my gosh, this is so sweet. And if I get the pink, it's something, oh my gosh, this is so good. So, and I think with that example, it's really saying that you don't have to be negative when the person doesn't meet the expectation, but let the level of response be an indication of, this is nice, but then he is not affirmed and still keeps his manliness. In that
a level of appreciation you got to have too,
right?
Because he didn't have to bring you anything, in all honesty, so I think a lot of it comes to a maturity of mindset too. Are you thankful for it? Because for her to come back and say, oh, well, you could have paid a bill, that just shows your level of maturity and your lack of gratitude.
I think building on Sonia and Yvonne's responses, I do think that the outside influences can shift and require more of a reset because they can drift from their core values and they could just easily, just say, you know what, I don't want this anymore, and they fail to communicate that. And sometimes your needs evolve and you need to communicate those needs that evolve. Now, are the parents culpable in that? Yeah, I think sometimes women overdo it with their sons. And I try to make sure I balance that because my son knows I told him, I better not ever have a woman you've married or procreated with call me as if I'm a failure because you're going to feel it right then. I'm not going to. You're going to represent the long line of men in my family. You're going to represent appropriately because we know what we invested in you. So, and then I believe that a lot of women, they need to know those boundaries in their, and understanding gender roles. And the misunderstanding of gender roles oftentimes contributes to why people get frustrated because their identity crisis, and that comes from that misunderstanding of gender roles. And you end up needing a reset. Am I the man in this family? Are you the woman? My needs are shifting. How do we come together and adjust those things? Because men, if they had a mother and father and a functional family structure and a positive one, they will stick to their core values. It's just sometimes you have to be consistent with your spiritual growth, nurturing that relationship and getting back to that core why and that purpose. And then that will allow that barrier where these outside or these external forces will not have the power to manipulate your relationship or influence you to go rogue and go bad. You know what a relationship is supposed to be. You know what you took to the altar. You know that your needs are going to change. And when they change, you seek counsel from like a council of elders or some therapist or someone, whomever is going to help you. And you have to be vulnerable to be receptive to that kind of assistance. Or you need to just come to Jesus moment and say, okay, this isn't working. And I don't believe in that, but
okay, so I got the wind up call. I'm going to get final words from each of you. This has been really, 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 really good. This is something that we can sit and talk. When you find people who are like-minded, we can sit here and talk, not just shoot the breeze, but talk for a minute. But let's just get final words from you guys. Yvonne, give us your final words.
Oh, I just think this was a beautiful conversation. I wish that we would all have more platforms where we can honestly talk about relationships, all types, but specifically romantic relationships. I think that, when you know better, you do better, right? At least that worked in my respect. And that just happens to be a really special thing for me. I want to see people to partner together and to love one another and to build happy, healthy relationships. And so I'm saying this, I want to back up what Zane says, get help, get help, get help. Coach, counselor, elders, get help in your relationships.
And that's really, really good. How can people stay in contact with you?
Absolutely. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Yvonne Victor Life Coach. My website is YvonneVictor.com, making this very easy. And I'm going to drop a link, hopefully, in your show notes for my new book, Unstuck, the First 5 Steps for Living Your Best Life. You can get that. That's at a low cost. And that's a very great place to be introduced to coaching, life coaching in particular, whether you're coaching with me or someone else. And so that's
really, really good. It's been a pleasure having you. And I know we're going to see you again.
I sure hope so. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Okay. All right, Zane, give us your last words.
I think that conversations like these are very essential for the development of Black women to know how to navigate through these kinds of conversations in a respectful way, and just finding groups like this where they are vulnerable, where they create a safe space to have these conversations. I can be reached at zanebeyondwords@yahoo.com. And I'm open to supporting any women who need that kind of space. I create that space often, and I have workshops and forums and things like that. So I'm very open to that. But I do appreciate this conversation with these dynamic women who shed a very, very beautiful perspective of what you can be. And I'm hopeful that we really create more spaces like this because it's very, very important.
Good. And when we created, we're going to have Zane beyond words, all the 10 million things that you do to make women and make life better for everyone. Thank you so much
Thank
for being
you.
here. Okay, let's get final words from Sonia.
I have to say, this has been a dynamic panel, and I'm just honored to be a part of it, to connect with such beautiful energy. It's very rare that you really get to pour into something that has such meaning. So my biggest thing I would tell everyone is to work on your communication, especially your communication styles. If you want to work with me, please feel free to find me on Instagram at La Paz Imaging. That's LAPAZIMAGE. And you can find me on Facebook at La Paz Image Consultants. And you know what? Check me out on Whispers in a Bottle, Grown Talk Cocktail Fridays, every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on all of the platforms that you love to listen to your podcast.
It's really, 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 really good. Really, really good to have you. I like your perspective and I like your independent thinking. I saw your book, Think and Grow Rich, that's behind there. And because you're doing that, your sister again.
Yes.
Today,
And this is the thing, Dr. Holmes, I have to tell you, you and I actually have something even deeper connected, is because you teach on the detox your mind. I have declutter your mind.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yes. So we
this is
have a deeper connection.
We need to come together and do stuff together. That's one of the things that I'm saying. I'm not afraid of that. There's enough for all of us, because I did a deep dive. I did these things, a deep dive into Think and Grow Rich, and actually have the copyright for it. And today I said, I'm going to do Think and Grow Rich again. And when I saw it, I said, thank you, God, for the confirmation.
We have got to get together.
Absolutely.
We have to, because that is what's powerful, you know, and how you have this set up for SheShed. You don't know the value that you are truly pouring into the community, because more and more people have to realize that they have to pivot, and that pivoting starts with them. So I thank you. And being a fellow psychologist too, I know how deep we dive into these relationships.
Yes. Sonia, it's been a pleasure, and we all stay connected. We're going to do some other things, and definitely, ladies, you guys are keepers. Thank you guys so much for joining us on tonight. This was like, I was going to say a country that I went to, but I'm not going to say it. But there's sometimes you go to different places and you're so thirsty, and something as common as a glass of cold water, it touches every part of your body. And that's what I felt like on tonight, talking to these women. I'm not saying it just to say it. It was refreshing. It just felt like we could continue talking over and over again. We want you to see how much God loves you, and to put these people together so that you can be information. Please take this, discuss it in your own groups, in your churches, wherever you are. Take this and carry this information on even further. We appreciate the fact that God has given us the opportunity to share this with you. All right, until next time, my name is Dr. Cheryll Holmes. I'm a psychologist, family therapist, sex therapist, and your friend and sister. And all I want for you is for you to be. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.